Hey guys, it's Chris Pre with Smart Real Estate Coach. Scott and I had an amazing discussion here on the show about outsourcing, about how to create 3 paydays, and more importantly, how to go ahead and grab deals here when everyone else is running the other way.
This is the Note Closer Show, where you get the latest developments in distressed note investing and learn the secrets of how you can control millions of dollars worth of property for pennies on the dollar. Get educated and entertained by someone who has closed thousands of deals and lives to support you in achieving the same. Now, here's your host, CEO of We Close Notes, Scott Carson.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. As always, Scott Carson, excited to be here today. And extremely jacked up to have somebody who is a legend out there in the real estate investing community, somebody who's been around longer than a year or two, somebody who's been through an up market and a down market and reinvented himself once or twice along the way, and somebody who's really done a really great job to say recession-proof, or I should say screw-up proof his business, depending on what's going on in the world, whether it's something like 9/11 or COVID or whatever else the world might throw at us. So I'm honored today to have a guy who's a 3-time best-selling author. He's the host of the Smart Real Estate Coach podcast and just an absolutely amazing guy out of Rhode Island, Mr. Chris Prefontaine. What's going on, Chris? How you doing today?
Hey buddy, I'm doing great. Out of the large state of Rhode Island. Yes, indeed.
Neither a road nor an island. Talk amongst yourselves there. Me, myself, and Irene, very, very well famously there for the roadies there. But hey, you're working with a variety of investors all across the country, just not there in Rhode Island, which is what I love about you, is that you've got investors from all sorts of markets dealing with a variety of issues. And we all know the market's hot, real estate's hot out there. What are some of your favorite, types of deals that you guys, I know what you're famous for, and I think I know the answer to this, but what are your strategies that you're telling people that really need to focus on right now?
Yeah, I have a couple different answers if that's okay. So the lease purchase is when someone says, hey, if I'm new, what do I do? Like my guy Brian in Illinois did 10 deals, all these purchase because he didn't want to put any money up. Okay, that's fine for the new person. Right now, my focus is I want the ownership. I want the owner financing or the sub 2. And then just to clarify, we niche down the owner financing. We look for free and clear, Scott, primarily, because then I can structure a whole bunch of things, but mostly principal only payments and cool things like that because they are free and clear. And so those are my 2 favorite, short answer.
I love that. Now let's take it back a little bit to the Great Recession of the time.
Yeah.
You were doing a lot of things. You had your own Realty Executives office and everything like that too. And
I had sold that. I sold that in 2000. So that was actually a positive experience before the crash. But leading up to the crash, I had all the conventional stuff. Like we were doing 6-unit projects and converting those to condos, selling them like hotcakes before the crash. 3s, doing the same thing. And then we were doing some raise the roof projects with ranches to go to, like, all conventional construction type projects, and then some commercial. And then the banks like flipped the switch. I said in my book, but it's like literally February of 2008. I remember clearly. Like, switch over, done.
Yeah, the music didn't delay. It literally stopped on a dime. Banks stopped financing a lot of that stuff. I know I was a banker prior to all that stuff happening back, and I was talking to my friends at Chase Bank, and they didn't issue one commercial loan for like 2 years here in Central Texas.
Believe it.
Definitely didn't do any construction loans. And you've learned a lot from that. And how's that apply to really what you're focused on now for the most part? You just said stop doing madness, or what?
Yeah, it built everything. So to give us some context, yes, I almost said I'm not going back in the business. And I said, well, if I do, if I do, what's going to happen? What's going to happen is I'm not signing personally with banks anymore. That's to this day. I do not, unless it's for a personal residence and I can justify a very low loan to value. Secondly, little to no cash up front. I didn't have any then. Now I have it. I want to protect it. And not using your credit, which goes along with personally signing, right? So those are the biggies. But those are big things. Like, I'll have students call me and go, yeah, but I can get 1 more, 2 more, 3 more, 4 more loans at this bank. I say, stop, dude, do not do it. Even in this hot market, you can do plenty of terms deals. We're still doing deals. It's not a big deal.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm glad you brought that up. because a lot of people, and we see that in the note space, I'm like, wait, listen, you just got to market. There are still deals being done.
Of course.
Everybody gets so used to low hanging fruit. In a lot of cases, so many people buying HUD foreclosures now, they're trying to buy at the markets. I'm like, look, foreclosures aren't going to happen at the market now into the next 24, 36 months, because banks are going to sell the paper off, or you're going to have to go buy something and put it on terms or find somebody who's motivated, right?
Right. And look, I said the free and clear properties, owner financing, there's about, depending on your market, a third of the properties in the United States are free and clear. A third. We'll go talk to a bunch of them. You don't need many. The free and clear deals, and I'll give you the metric in a minute, they're 6-figure deals every time. If you do 3 metrics, I'll share it. So if you find a house that's free and clear, when you do, and my building was the same way, my office building, you find a property free and clear, you structure at least a 4-year deal. That's easy now. You structure at least a $900 monthly principal payment, and the house is somewhere around 200 grand or more, you have 6 figures the way we do 3 paydays. 6 figures every time. So you don't need 40 of those deals a year. You need a couple in your marketplace, or whatever you need.
Well, and that's the point, is most people don't realize that. And I think many people, especially, I'm sure you deal with this coaching like I do, of wanting to hit people in the head, like, listen, you can get something on terms with where it's 0% financing or working all that out there. I know you're a big fan of that, right?
Yeah. It would be rare for us to do interest. Now, I said office buildings, so that begs an explanation. We did interest because the guy was in his 70s, very big landowner in the area, not new to investing, had a free and clear building, and we live on an island. So most people say, you can't find that here. No, he was advertising owner financing. He didn't want to be cashed out, right? Some people don't for a lot of reasons, tax, estate. So I said to him, we only do principal only. He said, principal only? I wouldn't do that. I want 5.5, I think he wanted. This was back in 18. I said, I tell you what, I came back to him with, I'll do principal only, down payment, monthly, like all against the rules when I do residential. But I'll do that for about 9 months, and then I'll take 5.2% with the balance and amortize it. He was tickled pink. I got a hammered down principal for 9 months, and now I've been at the deal for whatever it is, 3 years now. So there's ways to do both.
There is ways to do, but I love that. You're making my hair tingle on the back of my neck, because we do the same thing opposite, especially when we're working with our borrowers who are in default. They're like, listen, come back to the table and you pay for a year on time, then we'll amortize. We'll give you 100% principal if you bring extra to the table, because we bought the house at a huge discount to help them out with some things. But that's the thing. People are like, oh, they're not going to accept zero. What would you say? You probably get a little bit of pushback like your guy did there a little bit, but when you really are negotiating, you're really dealing with a motivated seller, they're just happy to offload the property in a lot of cases, correct? And
I should have gave context to your point, Scott. So that guy, the reason I did it was I was inheriting an all-state franchise tenant that's been there longer than he owned the building. They weren't going anywhere. They need the frontage, the signage and the traffic. So I knew I was cash flow. I think I was only upside down $500 without my companies going in. So I was getting that deal no matter what. I was just trying to get the best deal. On the residential side, though, we don't. I can't think of an exception. We just do principal only. Now, why would they do it? I know that's in their head right now. Why would a seller do it? Well, similar to this guy, I can get them to their price, and a lot of times an ego gets to them and goes, yes, I want my price, or I can give them a premium if they give me enough, term. So that's why they do it. And then estate reasons and tax planning and cash flow.
Right. That's a big thing. I think a lot of times too is people don't realize that you can often overpay. And overpay is the wrong term. Pay more for an asset versus somebody who's going in with hard money, or they're using other people's funds. They've got to pay that interest back. And amongst other things, you can come and offer above market or at market or higher than the sellers, because you do hit that ego, but you hit that sales point and it hits their number, and then you negotiate the length of the deal to make it happen, right?
Yeah, it's a healthy win-win. It truly is a healthy win-win. And then down the road, you can even discount. You guys do a lot of this with your notes, I'm sure. But if you come up into some other deals and you want to pay that down or discount it, that's like another payday.
Mm-hmm. Now, are you taking those properties and then turning them into rentals, or owner financing them, or lease options? What's kind of your strategy once you're taking these properties down, putting a tenant in place? What's your strategy? Okay,
so a base strategy and then a more advanced. A base strategy is we're going to put a tenant buyer in there that needs the rent-to-own pathway to get to the end. But I'll say this because I know you know all too well. There's just a lot of people out there that teach that and say, doesn't matter if they qualify, doesn't matter if they default, just do it again. And they say it publicly. That may be okay with their agreements legally, but morally and ethically, it stinks. So we have a very stringent upfront policy with the buyers. My son handles the buyers that says they're going to be mortgage ready. Now, do they still screw up? Some of them, yeah, about 5% screw up because life happens, and that's going to continue that way. So rent to own package, cash out anywhere between 2 and 5 years. Next level on our sub twos or longer term owner financing deals. Love them on the sub twos. We will put them in there, and at the table after they've been qualified and they think they have to go to a bank in 3 or 4 or 5 years, we say, look, if you can get your deposit up to 20%, because that goes in our pocket over time, no hurry, and you can stay on time for the entire time, we're going to go ahead and finance you. You don't have to go to the bank again. They love it. It's like they'll someone will start crying because it's a whole new thing. They didn't have to do that. It's crazy.
Now, are you adding a little bit more each month on top of the rent, or just deducting a part towards that down payment, or how are you kind of getting to that number with a down payment, that 20% you mentioned?
Okay, so on the regular standard rent to own, they're paying a lease in the meantime on their, so the monthly thing is they're not getting credit for it. When I'm going to own or finance them, it just depends on the underlying deal. Yeah, totally. Every deal is so different.
Sure. Now, are there people out there looking for this, Chris, or are they just kind of once in a blue moon, man?
On the buyer side or seller?
Buyer side.
Buyer side is more than ever. Yeah, it's easy. Probably know you knew that answer, but you put a deal out now on terms. I don't care if you're doing rent to own or owner financing or what you're doing for terms. You are not going to be without buyers. You will build a massive buyer list fast. So people say, do I do the buyers list first, like some niches do? No. Get a good property and you will be flooded with buyers if you bought that right.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. I think it always starts with the property in a lot of cases. Get you a good property, you'll build your list relatively easy and be ready to rock and roll for deal 2, deal 3, deal 4, and going from there. Plus, the bigger list you have something quality, you're going to actually get more serious people that are willing to, I guess you'd say, proof up that they got the deposit versus a lot of the tire kickers, huh?
Yeah, in other words, a true buyer versus a renter is a big distinction. My son was so tired of it, he put voicemails and automation in place saying, look, if you're renting, basically no offense, but it's not for you. You got to be a buyer, and there's some very, very legitimate buyers that need time. Job change, divorce, COVID, back on feet, those are all legitimate buyers that need time. That's who we deal with.
Are those the same type of people that you're also kind of maybe dealing with who have struggled with their mortgage payments to find subject to deals as well in this market, or no?
On the seller side?
On the seller side this time, yes,
yeah,
sir.
There's a lot of that going on now. I think it's going to be a lot more later, as you probably know. But yeah, we're looking for little equity on these deals, and they'll do subject to, but behind a month or two, not too much in trouble yet, but want to save it. Have 2 houses hanging on, need to let go. So yeah, the sub twos usually come from the stress, whereas the owner financing debt free comes from I'm great. Let's talk deal. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. What's some of the sources that you're using, if you don't want to give away any secret sauce?
Okay.
But what are some of the best sources that or marketing tools that you're using to find these sub 2 deals to take down?
All our deals, and then I'll give you some sub niches that we do, but all our deals are coming from My Plus leads, typically where they give you the expires, the FSBOs, and the for rent by owners. I like those. Now, with this market so hot, you got to talk to more people. So we'll go to lists like the little equity I told you, bought it 2 to 5 years, within 2 to 5, little or no equity, free and clear. Always have done that list. Every market still do it. Those are 2 cool lists. We get those from PropStream. We have white labeled it.
That's nice. So if you had to guess, you may have numbers for this or not, but you're figuring you're dropping a lot of postcards, yellow letters, voice dialing. What's your favorite tactic?
We have VAs, virtual assistants, that just go into our My Plus account and they dial. Now, again, with the hot market, we're doing a little bit of mailing, Scott, but we're a bit different. So we don't drop a ton. I'm talking like 100 pieces a week. And we'll do those by postcard. So we never did market heavy because I just don't think it's as predictable, and it's not great for the new person to try to come in and do that. But whatever your metrics might be, we just use the VAs and do light mailings to the niche lists.
No, that makes a lot of sense there. I think so many people get used that you've got to drop 1,000 plus postcards, and we all know that's a low hit rate, especially when you're brand new, and many investors don't have a lot of extra money for marketing on the front end side. Yeah,
and then they're frustrated, right? And you're not setting them up for these little wins. Whereas if they can afford a VA for $100 to $200 a week that's trained, allows to train to do terms deals, then they see these little wins and then they can edge into it. It's a little bit better.
Yeah. What with you teaching, and we've all seen people go through workshops and things like that, and people that go from workshop to workshop. I'm a big proponent in, hey, find something and focus on 1 or 2 things and stick to it, right? You got to give time for your marketing and what you've learned to actually germinate, the seeds germinate and see some results, right?
Yeah, here's what I say to people. By the way, I call those people, they just come for the milk and cookies. They just keep coming. But
we call them prize pigs. They just come for the free stuff.
Okay, but so we both said the same thing. Here's the simple formula, because I'm not so naive to think our niche, right? You and I both are in great niches. We both love them. So find a niche that you can get behind. You do that for free. Go on YouTube. Go find a niche that you can get behind. But secondly, is an important one. Second and third. Second is find someone in that niche or a group or a community that you can relate to. I'm talking about personally, business, everything, because you got to, if I'm going to pick a mentor, I'm going to pick a mentor that kind of has what I want as a full circle, not just doing a deal. And then third, follow them with blinders on for 36 months in that niche before you get the shiny object syndrome. Now, if you do that technically, Scott, and I don't care if you're running a restaurant, if you do those 3 steps, you'll have success. The hard part is the 3 years, and the hard part is finding someone, getting rid of all distractions and finding someone that's been around for long enough and wants to show you how to do it. What did one podcast say to me recently? They said, they called it new money. They said, since the crash, if somebody got in the business and they had this little success, they've never dealt with any of these headaches. That's sort of the new money, and you got to be careful with that.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, we've seen such an increase in property values and recovery a lot of times. We're overdue for a correction.
Yeah.
In a lot of places. What's your opinion on where things are going to be at come 2022? We're going to see a reduction in property values, you think, or is that going to be more
question,
market?
Right? Everybody asks that question. Right. If you and I knew we'd be on the beach somewhere, we wouldn't be doing real estate. But it's hard to say, because before the COVID ramped back up recently, I was saying, it's going to be at least flat, if not soft. And some of our markets, the associates are coming on a weekly call saying, I'm getting more sellers and buyers calling me back now. So I think it's softening in some areas, but I would think at some point it's got to, again, if I knew, I wouldn't be on the show.
Yeah, exactly. We'd be in Vegas or something.
Here's what I know, though. I should have said this. So that begs, okay, so what do you do? The way we built the niche, because it came out of the crash, I sincerely built it for up, down, or sideways. It's just a matter of what pond you fish in and then how many people you got to talk to. That's all it is. And it's being okay with knowing that.
That is, I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah. Knowing your niche and working it to prepare versus we have all seen those that just drive on appreciation. They don't worry about cash flow, or they just worry about cash flow, but don't worry about other things. You got to really understand where you're at. And now you're doing it in a variety of markets outside of Rhode Island, or are you pretty much sticking to where you're at? Now you got associates all across the country, but for you personally, what are you doing?
Gotcha. Yeah, we do Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Connecticut only because we revenue share and we're sort of partners on all those other deals anyway, all across. So we are in them. We're just not the majority partner.
That makes sense. You're able to help guide them and still make a piece of the deal for kind of helping them walk along the way.
Total win-win. Like that interactive coaching, I think Brian Tracy called it that when he was on my show, is the best coaching, because you're going to hit curveballs. You're going to. It's not like we can show you how to avoid every curveball. Not possible.
No, it is not possible every deal. And these days, it's definitely interesting. Now, are you seeing didn't know this, but with everybody who are you targeting more things, especially with the eviction moratorium? Have you been looking at markets, looking at lists around some of the evictions or foreclosures that are going to start up there in those different states for you there?
We haven't. Honestly, it comes to us through those other avenues. We are hitting tired landlords, because I think some of them are just like, okay, I'm done, enough. Now this new wave, forget it. So we are hitting that list. It's actually a list in PropStream called tired landlords. Kills me.
Well, but there's so many, you're not buying it. There's a lot of tired landlords in New York and New Jersey right now.
Yeah, I bet. And rightfully so.
Yeah, exactly. What's your long-term goal, Chris? When you said about recreating it yourself and restructuring your business, yeah, I know you're a goal-oriented guy, obviously. Yes. What's been your long-term goal for it? What's kind of that light at the end of the tunnel for you that you're looking forward to?
Well, we've got a mission on the coaching side of things right now to get to 500 transactions for the students by the end of next year. We'll rewrite it then for another 5 years, but it's kind of multi-generational for me because the kids are with me, my son, Nick, and my son-in-law, Zach. And then on the buying side, I love doing deals. So on our own property side, we'll continue that. We've got several entities that just do that with the 3 of us in a great team, not to discredit them. So we'll continue doing that. I don't think, like, if I just did a deal every now and then, I'd be happy as a clam too. So down the road, that if I slow down, that'll be the path.
Yeah, I don't think that says real estate investors never retire. We just get more niched.
Well, and you get more picky and you play.
Yeah, exactly. What's been one of the coolest deals besides your office there in the last 12 or 24 months that you've been really excited about?
We got a strange one that everybody who hears it says, why would she do this? I'll try to be brief. So this woman's a realtor in Boston. She's not new to real estate. She owns a home on the water, we own it now. She owned a home on the water looking over the ocean, open ocean on a bluff. Gorgeous. 4,000 or 5,000 square feet, a little under $1 million. So we didn't know why at first, but I'm fast forwarding. So she owned it outright. And so that's perfect for us. We did an owner financing deal with her for $2,500 a month principal payments. Now we usually put no money down. We broke the mold here. It's $1 million home. We put $8,000 down, plus we had to pay her transfer tax. So not much, like 13 grand, let's call it. Not bad for $945,000 home. Now here's the weird part. So she's a realtor. That's number one weird. Okay, why don't you just dump it and sell? Then we found out that her mom was ill and she wanted her to stay in the home. So she said, can I rent it back from you? And you don't have to pay me any payments on the $2,500, but each month I stay here, well, I'll credit the $2,500 principal off of your note, and I'll pay the taxes, I'll pay the insurance, and I'll maintain the property like I own it. So again, I think mentally she just wanted out. Fast forward, we're 2.5, 3 years in. We went to sell it before COVID. She called us and said, look, I moved to South Carolina. You can't make this stuff up. I moved to South Carolina and I couldn't get a home yet until I lose this note here. So can I come back and rent it? Now we just fixed it all up, fixed the bluff. We said, sure, because she's a great tenant. So she's back in the home. We put on the market because of the principal pay down over the ensuing years. The house, of course, appreciated during COVID. And we're looking at, I don't know, 300 or 400 grand still net. And we're still trying to figure out if we want to sell it or leave her in there, but it's still to be told. But that's a kind of a weird deal. In the meantime, it's all principal.
Yeah, it's totally an interesting deal there for her. Move back in, and happens every once in a while.
Yeah, and why as a realtor, it's just different.
Yeah, just sometimes people have a different mindset of things out there. That's where do you see the most amount of success with your students? Is there a niche or a background or kind of a common avatar with your students that you're seeing with success of people, tired landlords or tired fix and flippers or people with no money? What are you kind of seeing?
Yeah, that's a good one. If you look back, and you probably the same thing, two things come to mind. One probably sparked by COVID, and that is people that are just spent from corporate, especially COVID, making them think, I lost my job or I'm done and could be done soon. And then within that, high earning corporate people that are tired of doing that, get on a plane or whatever. So the last few, Brian in Illinois, elevator salesman, high earner, but on a plane every other week, if not more, and was just done. Came in as a part-timer with a 2-year goal, and 7 months left his a job. In 17 months, did his first 10 leases that I told you about, lease purchase, and put 3 paydays together of 760 grand. So long answer, short answer, high-end corporate, spent out, medical salespeople, high pace, high money, done, I'm spent. Then the other side, and I think you'd agree with this one, I'd like your opinion on it, and that is just super hungry for whatever reason. Like I was super hungry after the crash, right? Like I got a burning why, I got somewhere with all to get it done, and teach me, I'm a sponge. Those two things, I'd rather have someone like that all day long. I don't know about you.
Yeah, somebody who's hungry is definitely. Well, I've often found that people that don't have money are better at what they do and going out and raising and marketing more because they're hungry to do it. They don't have the money in their accounts to kind of fall back on, because we're using a lot of cash to take these deals down or other people's money.
Yeah, I agree.
Marketing is one of the biggest things that it comes down to, and it seems a lot of people are scared to market. I'm like, if you're going to be in any business, you got to market these days.
Yeah.
Who was one of your biggest mentors as you were getting into real estate and evolving, Chris? Who's been one or two names that you really look for inspiration, or somebody who's really helped guide you along the way? Real estate specific?
Sure. Back in 12, like everyone else, I hung out with Ron the Green a little bit. Actually, not just 12, 8 through 12. So then that led to relationships with Scott Ulmer, who has his own business now. He's on his own. We talk regularly now. So it went from mentor to like mastermind type people.
Yep.
And then on my own. So when I started crafting the 3 payday thing, it wasn't like those don't exist. You know that. They have front deposit, the monthly spread in the back end. We just kind of wrapped the system around it. So there's a little bit of everything out there. This stuff's been done since 1800s. It's not, it's not new. It's just, here's a system. More importantly, here's a support system to get there. So a little of everyone.
Yeah, I have to give Ron a lot of credit for basically hung around with Ron from 2004 to almost 2008 with Bob Leonetti speaking on.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So we are probably in the same room, highly likely.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Now, non-real estate, there's been somebody who's been a big inspiration to you non-real estate wise, Chris.
Yeah, bunch of those. So every year, sometimes half years, we hire coaches, each one of us on the team. So I did some work with Jarek Robbins in 2020 during COVID, Tony's son. That was a great experience. We have been tied to elite entrepreneurs since December of 17. I literally, Scott, owe everything in our scaling of our businesses to them, literally. And when I'm on a show, he thinks I'm just, flattering them, but they teach small businesses how to go from 7 to 8 figures. And they are a bunch of guys and gals that built Infusionsoft and then spun this division off. And they are just amazing. So that's on the business side. And then on the kind of the mental space, a whole bunch. I mean, Brian was on my show, so we network a little bit. Brian Tracy, just a lot of the, like you in the podcast, you get some great relationships and they become kind of mentors and partners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Well, that's the thing is, it gives a chance to have a conversation one-on-one away from a lot of noise in a lot of cases. Because busy entrepreneurs, we're constantly coming and going on the phone or talking or making things happen. It's nice to kind of have a conversation every once in a while. Right?
Yep, you bet.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Mark Victor Hansen a while, and Mark's in my hot dial number now. We talk on a regular basis.
Nice.
Great guy there for you. Now, how important is, besides, you mentioned this a couple of times, you talked about getting VAs and outsourcing, and how important is that to learn to outsource and delegate things versus trying to be a jack of all trades and do it all yourself first?
For years, it was just me doing that solopreneur stuff. And I say to people not to water this down, but to get from 0 to 1 million, and I know it's a big accomplishment for some, but to get to 1 million, you can just hustle more follow-up, more email, more everything. You can get to 1 million. You really can. That's my opinion. To go to the next level, it's critical that you learn how to, and there's people that can show you how, outsource, not just VAs, but outsource, build a team around you. And so that's what we help our people do. Some take it and run, and some are just stuck in the solopreneur mode. It's critical. People said to me recently, what would you do if I plopped you in Brian's market, John's market, whatever, someone's market? Said I'd hire an executive assistant, even if it was part-time, and I'd hire a VA. Those are 2 things you need. You shouldn't be doing that stuff. I don't care if you're broke, find a way to get through the next 90 to 180 days, in my opinion. Yeah,
exactly. Cut out the night at the movie theater, the coffee that you're buying every day through the drive-through. They'll solve a lot of that stuff.
Something. Yeah.
Good stuff there for you. What's your big goal? And what's been a big surprise from having the podcast, Chris? You've had it for a while. You've been rock and rolling there. Any big surprises from having the podcast?
Well, I guess the big surprise would be the relationships that we just alluded to. Like when I think it was Mitch Stevens, I was on his show years ago, 14 or 15 maybe. I was on his show and he said, "You have a podcast?" I said, "No." He said, "Oh, you need to have a podcast." So he hooked me up with this guy that does our podcast. We've become great friends. If you told me all our relationships or many of them will be built from relationships like you and I have right here, I never would have guessed that in a million years. I'm talking about a major portion of our business growth has been through relationships just like this. So that is the biggest surprise, positive surprise.
Yeah. And that's the thing is we got connected through our mutual friend, Juan Twyford. Twyford's out there.
Yeah.
And we just had them on our event and they're having me on their event there. And that's the beauty of it. When we talked, when you were out driving, we were walking a house when we first talked about jumping on the podcast together. Yep. It's a beautiful thing there for you. Big goals for the rest of the year. We got 3.5 months, 3.25 months left here to 2021. Big goal that you're looking to push up for the years out.
Yeah, both divisions. So on the property front, we're sort of doubling down again, bringing on another we call it takings team, but acquisitions team. And then on the coaching side, we're our stretch goal for this we do trimesters. So this last trimester is we're going to do almost what we did in the last 2. And we're on target to do it. So it's a bit of a push. We've got events galore, and you know how those are, not just us, but to get to these. So it's a big push. It's gonna be fun wrap up.
That's a good time. Yeah, I think it's an opportunity for those that are definitely pushing and doubling down. Now's the time to do it because I think we're gonna see even more stuff hit the market here in the next 12 to 24 months for sure.
You know why else they should double down now? Because everybody else is running, going, "No, look at the news."
Yes, I agree 100% with it. Oh, I can't do anything. Oh, woe is me. No, now's definitely the time to build those relationships and making things happen. Amen to that, brother.
Yeah, Joe Kennedy. I'm gonna get the years a little off. It's like 1930. It was the Depression, 33 or so, in early 1900s. Everyone running the opposite way, right? Obviously, Now, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was around 6 million in those days, and he turned it into like 60 something million. It's like billions now if you equivalent today. So be Joe Kennedy during this time right now and sprint when others are going the other direction.
Yeah, exactly. I think Warren Buffett's, when there's blood in the water, run the opposite way that everybody else is running for it. Run towards it versus run away from it. Amen to that. Well, Chris, this has been a wonderful episode. Guys, you guys definitely got to check out. What's the best way for folks, our listeners out there in Note Nation, to find out more about what you're doing and connect with you, Chris?
Well, I said earlier, free is good. YouTube, just punch in Smart Real Estate Coach. But if you want to, the website's smartrealestatecoach.com. Here's what I'll do. I said to you, I'm going to get in trouble at the beginning, but I'll do it because this is airing soon. I want to do two things. I'll give them our free 2 of our hardcover books, not digital. I'll give those and I'll ship them our cost if they just email support at, there you go. If they just email support at smartrealestatecoach.com and put Scott Carson free books. I'm going to take it on the chin for this, but we will ship at our cost. You're not going to put a credit card up. And then if they want information on our event coming up, I'm willing to offer a huge discount on that. Just put that in the email.
Awesome. Good stuff there, Chris. Thanks, man, as always, for coming on the podcast. Keep rocking and rolling, buddy. Look forward to catching up in the near future there for guys. You learned, Chris dropped some nuggets there. The importance of delegation, the importance of outsourcing all that bullshit that ties up our day in delegation, and go do some deals. There's plenty of deals out there, plenty of motivated sellers, motivated buyers out there. You make a lot of money by putting people together in that case and putting yourself in the middle. So go out, take some action, everybody, and we'll see you all at the top.